cute is this? I just love making stuff like this where it's relaxing, it's fun, and it's super giftable. So this is something that you could easily replicate over and over again with a card, a poster, really anything. The first thing that you're gonna need is your really cute saying. I have these two different sides. Today I'm gonna do kindness is key, and I have that printed out to fit my paper. And then I'm going to get some watercolor paper, and I'm just gonna show you, I'm gonna demonstrate how to do the tracing part. If you already know how to do this, you can just skip ahead, and then we'll skip to the masking fluid bit, but I'm gonna just show you how to do this. So get your watercolor paper, get your tracing paper, use the shiny side of your tracing paper or your carbon copy paper and face it down onto the paper, and then get a piece of tape and tape that down, okay? And make sure, if your paper is small, make sure that the image that you're tracing is also small. And then I'm going to place it right on top of my carbon copy paper. I'm not pressing down or anything. And then I'm going to tape that to the carbon copy paper, just like that. And I like to be able to check on it like this. So that's why I only tape one side. Then you can either use a pencil or a stylus to trace all of that lettering. Now, once you've traced the entire thing, take one last peek in case you need to fix anything, and then gently remove that carbon copy paper and the paper that you have your outline on, and just set it aside. This is the part where we're gonna add our masking fluid. If you have masking fluid that comes in something like this, you're just gonna open it up, grab something like a stylus or something like this, or a disposable paintbrush. I'm just dipping this in here. This is metal. Can't remember what this thing is called, but you can usually get them with your masking fluid. And all you're gonna do, I'm gonna kind of dab so that I get a drop of that on my paper, and then I'm just gonna push it to the edge. And always start in the middle and not right on that edge, because if it accidentally drops a big drop and pools up, you're not going to have any issues with having to start over. But you just fill this in just like you would. So you can see I go tap, tap, tap just to kind of get it going, because it doesn't, it doesn't run down this like you think it might. Like if you're using, like a pen, a fancy pen, where like a fountain pen. So you kind of have to tap it to bring it down and then drag it into that space. Now, I think it's good to stay inside the lines, because then our paint will kind of cover up that outline if you have a really dark outline. But you don't have to. You just do the best job that you can, because we're going to trace this in pen anyways. Go ahead, finish this up. We're going to move on to painting it. So you want to fill in each one of those letters, let it dry completely, and when we get back, we're going to start painting this. Once your lettering is totally dry, then we get to paint. This is the fun part. So grab a really big brush, get it wet, and we're going to do the wet into wet process for the whole entire background. Now, before I do this, you could do this in any kind of way. You don't have to make it kind of tie-dye or anything like that. You could even paint an entire picture behind this, but this is just a quick and playful way to make this really bright and colorful sign or card. So I got my brush wet, and I'm going to paint the whole entire thing. I'm not worrying about the lettering, because again, I've added that masking fluid, which is going to block out all of those letters from getting wet and or getting painted. And so what you're going to see, just like here, is that it's going to all be white. So I'm just wetting that surface, really making sure that it's totally saturated. The only thing that I'm going to try to avoid is big pools of water. So I'm going to dab off. I think I really got kind of aggressive with that water. So I'm going to move it around, dab off a little bit, and then I get to do the fun part, which is painting. This really can be anything you like. Like I said, I'm going to show you how I did this. I start by using a dark color around the letters. Now, the key to this is just really fast. you know, a lot of pigment. So if you're using straight out of the tube paint, that's great. If you have pans, really make sure that you get them wet and activated and really work that paint so that it is very, very saturated, because you can see these, all the paint, once the surface is wet, it's just going to move and go everywhere. I'm going to start with, actually, I'm going to use my little brush for this so I can kind of control it. Let's make sure it's wet. Great. And I'm going to use a bunch of these darker colors, like I said, around it. I'm going to just start by plopping that in and letting it kind of bloom. And then once I see kind of where those colors are, I'm going to continue to add more. And I really like just all the colors that I used in that first one. So I'm going to probably use a lot of similar colors. This is, let's see, I'm using turquoise, and I'm also using Rose of Ultramarine. It has this really pretty color. When it dries, it has these hints of blue in it. So I just love that color. It works really well for something like this. And I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to add some of my light colors up and around in that white space before it gets dry. So when you're doing something like this in a big space, you really want to work quickly so that you don't want edges, and we want to make sure that's the outside or the our border is really white, and you're not going to see that unless you have some paint next to it. I'm just gonna, I don't know if I want to add all the colors. Actually, let's add 2 purples here. I think that'll look nice. So the key is work quickly, have your paints ready to go, and then just be playful and enjoy what you're doing. I think that this is a really relaxing activity. Oh, there we go. I like that. Yellow ochre. Nice. So pretty. I love it when the colors blend like this. And the key is not to get it, you don't want to fill in everything. So just like I did here, I left some gaps in between those colors because that helps to maintain the brightness of whatever colors you used. So just make sure that you leave some gaps. You don't want to mix the colors too much, but around the lettering, you do want it to be darker. And so you can see that I continuously keep adding to that area because I want to make sure that I really see that white pop. So around each letter, it's very important that you have a little bit of color touching it. You don't want it, it really won't show up unless you have some paint there. It really doesn't matter what colors you use. You can use your favorite colors. I'm using more yellow ochre today because I think that'll look really pretty. I just love yellow. So I think that's nice. And this one I'm going to make a little bit darker than the first one because I think that'll look cool. As soon as you like it, now again, make sure that it doesn't pool up too much, but once you like it, then just let it dry and we'll come back and I'll show you how to remove this in a really simple way. Once your image is dry, what you're going to do is you're going to grab something like this. This is called a gum eraser, and it helps to remove all that masking fluid. Now you can use your hand. I don't like to do that because in case there's, you know, a tiny little spot that's still slightly damp, I might mess it up. And this will pick it up really easily. So grab it. And then I'm going to go left to right, but it doesn't really matter the direction. And what I like to do is I just kind of snag it. It'll get stuck to your dried masking fluid. And then you can kind of lift it up almost like, I don't know, if you're removing something really sticky that's just stuck to the table. And that's it. So just keep doing this. It takes a little bit of time, but take your time with it because what you don't want is all that beautiful hard work that you did to just go away. So I'm going to keep removing this, and in a second, I'll show you the next step. I have just removed all that masking fluid. Now I'm going to take it off my board and I'm going to use a marker to trace my outline. Now you do not have to use a pen or a marker. You could leave it as is, but I think it really cleans it up and makes it look really nice. The other thing I'm going to do is just remove this tape because look at those nice edges. That looks so cute. You can see the difference here already, how much darker I went. I really like that. I like that yellow ochre that I used too. Oh, I forgot my heart. That was an easy mistake. There. Okay. Now I am using, what is this? Le Pen. This is one of those cool Japanese pens. I love this. I'm using lavender and I'm using it to trace the outline. This is a slightly fine point, but really anything will do. As long as your paper is dry, you can use your pen and just use something that probably is close to the colors that you use so it kind of blends in. And then I'm just going to trace it, and I'm also going to use it to kind of fill in any funny little mistakes or gaps or clean up those edges a little bit. And this is another trick why I'm using a color that's very similar to what's on my paper, because you're not going to notice it as much if I fill in a spot. How cute is this? I just love making stuff like this where it's relaxing, it's fun, and it's super giftable. So this is something that you could easily replicate over and over again with a card, a poster, really anything. And if you had a lot of fun with this and you want the same outlines that I used today, just put something in the description and I'd be happy to send it to you. So there you go. Happy painting, everybody. See you next time.